Fan.
Get ready, Minnesota. The Goo Goo Dolls are bringing their electrifying energy to the Ledge Amphitheater on August 18th. Don't miss your chance to experience the magic live. Get the full show details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar. That's KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Hey, welcome to 9 to Noon. And Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, nice enough to join us each and every Tuesday for X's and O's. And we do so from the TCO radio studio. And the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings with this 9-win production, you had a lot of action in front of you Sunday, and watching some of it back, like a lot of hot action right in front of you. Addison's career long, the dreaded onside kick, and, of course, the late hit on Brandon Powell. Oh, wait, that was the other sideline. Yeah. Why did he pick that up? I mean, was there after games, the Trey Blakes of the world will, tell a media member, here's what we saw or didn't see? And did you ever get clarity on why they picked that flag up?
They actually never put a flag down for that actual hit. I think the same person who threw the flag for thinking C.J. Ham might have had either a block in the back or a crackback block, whatever you want to call it.
So it was missed, which makes it better.
Which is debatable. But as I told the gentleman who said I said, you're allowed to throw your hat if you need to, if you're all out of yellow pennies there. So, we had a nice conversation in the second half because I did inform them that not only the fellas upstairs, but I also get your radio feed in my other ear because I got used to that during the preseason.
Yeah, right.
When we got to do that.
Yeah. So you can hear us scream.
I heard your reaction to it. So I said, hey, the fellas upstairs, which you now count for part of the group of the fellas upstairs. I said, they're going crazy up there, guys, and they're never wrong.
Well, the Minnesota Vikings, it's interesting you say that, Mr. O'Connell. First and foremost, the analyst Pete Bursich was apoplectic at the fact that we thought a flag was picked up because 2 were thrown, and then it's like, my man, you're not even going to acknowledge that? Holy cow, it's right in front of us. That's our vantage point at Soldier Field, one of the best in the league. So the analyst was apoplectic because it was a missed call. But secondly, it takes a village. I mean, whatever the Vikings radio network can do to help.
Yep.
It's Ryan Cordell, your game manager. I call him the leader of the dispute department.
Yep.
And here's why we make it a thing, because his father, Roger, listens in Maryland. He listens to the game in Maryland. All right. So, and you're now, I believe, 6 of 8 or 5 of 7 on challenges, something like that, but have won 4 of the last 5 of the last 6. And Ryan, as you've shared with us, is the one that handles that, right? And gets down with you. Well, you guys are hot right now. So Roger's getting a lot of play on the radio.
That one was really interesting because, the vantage point Ryan had and then the view that the TV was showing, it was a little inconclusive. I actually, believe it or not, I've known Keenan Allen a long time. And then obviously just knowing the amount of, how many reps you think Keenan Allen's had on the sideline over his career? Maybe 200, 300?
At least.
You count in practice, and we're approaching that, 10,000, maybe not that many, but I saw his reaction when he got up, and because their offense was not going to go fast at first. And then I saw his reaction, and that coupled with the fact that my view of it, I thought there was no way he could have got it in. And the fact that it was as close as it was is remarkable. Speaks to the kind of player that Keenan is. And then just understanding, understanding the idea of him getting up the way he did. And he was adamant that we got to go. That means he thought it was close. And then, Ryan thought it was close. And I thought it was a huge play in the game and worth a first half challenge because it's, a third down conversion to the 6-yard line versus a field goal opportunity where, you're then getting the big Jerry Tillery block and changing the game. We got a touchdown off that change right there. So I thought it was a critical moment that all the information I had in that moment, You saw normally when I know you're going to see me throw that thing out towards the numbers. That was a little bit more of a casual drop right at the toes of the side judge right there.
Oh, we've seen violent throws with that red flag, too, and hands in the air.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got to stop with all that.
Well, why? The moment's hot down there. It's hot down there, man. You got a lot of hot action in front of you, too, with Addison and the dreaded onside kick and Brandon Powell getting... Oh, wait, that was on the other side?
I still am seeing the onside kick right in front of me. It's been a couple sleepless nights.
Right in front of you.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. Well, I mean, to be 9-2, the leader of the dispute department has to. Everybody's playing fast.
Everybody's playing fast.
The game manager has to play fast with these challenges.
He probably has the hardest job on game day. Outside of a couple of the fellas that suggest some runs to me during the game, I would say second would be Ryan Cordell. As far as you got to be living, I always say this. I'll always apologize, but I can't promise it won't happen again. As far as some of the things that come out of my mouth on those headsets,
understood.
It's all part of it. I'm sure you and Pete go through the same thing in between during the breaks during those games.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it.
I worked for Tyson.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he worked for Mike Tice, so he's used to that kind of stuff. It's generally him telling me, hey, can I talk more? So anyway, and Cordell's flatline, which you need to be in that spot.
He's great.
I want to get this out of the way with Keenan Allen. I mean, off the last two against Keenan, probably seen about enough of him. Well, you'll get him again in a couple of weeks, but holy cow, the 215 last year, the pass to Williams, the only one he's ever thrown. And he hadn't had more than 50 yards this year, and hey, good for them. I mean, Keenan has some HOF qualities to him, and man, he came to play, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think it coincided with, Caleb maybe having one of his best games from the pocket, seeing the field, because,
he's nice.
When you work through it early on, Caleb, he's been showing some, real bursts of like, hey, the light's coming on for him, which is normal for a young quarterback as talented as he is in the league, and I think it all tied in with him playing a little bit more decisive. He, we did some things that allowed him to see the field and be really aggressive with his arm. He made some big time throws and kept him in the football game and brought him back in the end. It was an impressive day for both those guys.
You played quarterback in the NFL
allegedly,
and at SDSU, go Aztecs. Have you ever, and Brady, the whole thing, Stafford, the whole thing, have you ever seen a quarterback hitch and or have to stop and pump on a screen? Like when Van Ginkel jumped that route. I mean, I came into the game, I think I said it to you the night before. Andrew's getting a touchdown in this game if they go with all the short stuff again.
Yep.
It was right there. And Caleb, he had to stop with the hitch, right? Have you ever seen that?
Well, only
on a screen.
Normally, you see guys. The second that happens, that ball's getting dirted. But in his mind, in his world, there is no such thing as a bad play, which I think can lead you down the road sometimes to some bad things happening. But he proved it all day long. He was very, very the one thing our guys all came out of that game saying. He's slippery, and that athleticism is real, and we're going to have to be that much more detailed. And
his legs are strong.
Yeah, he's strong, and I mean, he had a day. He was on one. He had a day.
Yeah, that Jefferson coverage, that you've talked about a lot, and really gave us a nice, open, detailed answer on some things last week. How about on? I think it was the second pass of the game, the Johnny Monk catch inside the 5. How about that tight double on him? Kyler Gordon or one of the two back center of the end zone just pushed him down. I mean, just knocked him down. And I'm like, damn. I mean, even novices like me can see the brackets, can see the, hey, take the cheese, which remain Edmonds. And Sam, fantastic job, in my opinion, the majority of that game with that. That second pass play, I mean, they were on his hips, both of them, and one pushed him down. That's what you're dealing with, right?
Yeah, and
he's dealing with.
What I hear every week is the quarterback's got to be, they always are telling me that, the quarterback wasn't looking at him or, the quarterback had already released the ball. I tell them the attrition that takes on Justin mentally and physically to allow those things to happen. And also don't decide, from your vantage point, what our progressions are. How do you not know Sam's not going to rip back right now and throw that ball to Justin if they're not able to eliminate physically eliminate one of our eligibles who happens to be the best receiver in football. That's the constant, back and forth that if fans see me having nice dialogue with the officials throughout a game, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, allowing all 11 guys on both sides to have the fairness to just go play. And he generated some calls. We turned a few more in. We always do, just to get some clarity. But at this point, it is what it is, and Justin knows that. And I think that's where you get the captain, patch on his jersey for him knowing that two other guys are going to go and have huge days, and we're going to win the football game, and he's going to have an impact. And he still had one of the biggest catches of the day in overtime for that 20-yarder that we needed in the moment to kind of get back on track.
And shook a tackle. So, we're completely engaged. We're not super tired. We're shaking tackles.
Had some blocks in the run game, which I thought were big, from a play style standpoint.
That's awesome.
So, really cool stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome because, when you watch it critically or closely, and we discussed this after the Giants game. The Neal or okey doke, and then I think you did it again the next week. Well, in this one, Jalen Johnson's anxiety attack over Jefferson back left to the end zone on the Naylor touchdown. If Jalen doesn't take 2 or 3 steps, we're talking a half second here. It'd be tough for Speedy to get in, right? And that, so like when you or Keenan McCardell, the position coach, when you guys are talking with Justin, you don't have to point. Do you have to point that out and be like, hey, we don't get this if you don't do this?
No, he knows.
Yeah.
He knows. And that doesn't change the fact that he still wants to impact the game and have a bunch of targets and catches. And that's where, I joked about it yesterday, at the podium. I wish we had 100 plays. I wish we had 2 footballs on each play. And if Justin has a big game and one of the other guys don't, I know that there's always going to be questions because the expectation is and should be for every player in our offense to have success every week. Statistically, it just can't always be the case, and that's what makes us hard to defend. That was actually the first time we played against Chicago with Jordan, TJ, and Justin all on the field at the same time, and I thought it had a lot to do with our success.
Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, X's and O's, 9 to noon, KFAN, your home for Vikings football. So now, lastly, moving forward, the Addison with the 162, Hawkinson with the 114, 109 second half and overtime. So he's 1 for 5 at halftime, steals the show at the end of that. The running back goes for more than 100 and a rushing touchdown. After all that moving forward, perhaps that was a defining Sunday for things changing and loosening for 18 and subsequently everybody else. Do you see it that way?
Well, I just think people have a decision to make. And the other thing that didn't really come a whole lot in the game was pressure. We had our 4th tackle, with Cam going out in the end of the first quarter there, and we had we had Quest step in and play really well, competed his tail off.
Good.
But we didn't really get a whole lot of pressure. They just kind of 4-man rush, and we're able to kind of do what we can to help those edges and help out on the interior. CJ Ham comes in and essentially is a 6th offensive lineman a lot of times, helping pick up those games and stunts inside. You got a decision to make. If that's not getting home, ultimately, you're going to give Sam a lot of time in the pocket. He's been really good versus pressure this year because that normally means guys are one-on-one and we're running to some open grass. But when you try to play the more coverage structure-based plan, you just have to know if the rush can't get home. Sam has proven he's going to find eligibles, generate explosives, put the ball in play, and he's doing a really nice job these last couple weeks, really protecting the football but still being aggressive with his arm, and I think our offense has benefited from it.
And just to put it in context, the way I was going to frame it up for the head coach was think after Addison, Hawkinson, and Jones put a combined 409 yards on somebody, potentially loosens things for Justin moving forward. 409 yards from those guys. How about, speaking of all that hot action in front of you on the sideline as you were negotiating the sideline, how about Sam's throw to Addison to start the second half? Yeah. I've watched it 5 times. It's unbelievable how good that throw was. Like top 3 of the season, right?
Yeah, it's one of those, I didn't have a lot of them because, stuff didn't always look open to me anyway.
When you threw?
Yeah, because that required me to actually make a throw like that, which I was not capable of doing. But Josh McCown made plenty of them.
Yeah.
And Josh and I were talking about it. And to say, there's some throws and there's some things in a game, especially on a play like that where we called the same play off the same hash that was an interception against the Colts flat defender got underneath the dagger cut. And Jordan Addison was a very similar look, maybe even more open against the Colts. And Sam went back and he logged that away. That's why system time and system knowledge is important. And the next time I called that play was against the Bears. Same protection, same action, same everything. And he ends up feeling that. And as Sam said to Josh, that seemed way more open on the field than it did when I watched it back.
Right.
And those are the moments where you're kind of pre-snap. The defense has a feel, a look to it that you've seen before on a play. And then when you come off that fake and hit the top of your drop, you feel it organically much more than maybe it's even open in the moment, and that helps with your ability to then throw that to the one place Jordan can go get it, absorb the hit from the safety, stay in bounds,
right,
and go for 69. What was it, 69?
69.
Yeah.
Career long.
And I think that's just that's a culmination of a lot of things. To start the half, a drive starter type play.
Yeah.
We didn't end up scoring. The next, we kind of had a mental error on the next run and then gave up a sack. So we take our 3 points and we move on. But those are the times when we're truly at our best. No letdown, no negative plays, stacking plays on top of plays, where I think that's that best performance, PA, that we're chasing out in front of us.
And speaking of taking our 3 points, if Sunday is Parker Romo's last game with you guys, that's 6 for 6 at Chicago. We talked about it the night before. It was needed.
Yep.
He came through. It's a walk-off from what, 29? But all 6 of those were ended up being desperately needed, right?
Yeah, he's been, and don't discount the fact that, he's had a lot of his opportunities now have been outdoors with some elements. Chicago's not a place, even when it's not an overly windy day, there's still constantly factors that are at play at that place.
At Jacksonville, it was unbelievably windy.
Right. And he's been able to, go in there and make kick after kick, and we've needed all of them. I can't say enough about Park and what he's brought to the table in a time where many teams would be in crisis. He's settled all that down and been so consistent for us.
Pressure's not for everybody. They can get to a certain level, but then they can't handle the pressure. He has, and moving forward, he probably has gotten himself set up,
I think so,
with another team, which is super cool.
He definitely deserves, if he's not going to be kicking for us, he should be kicking in the NFL for sure.
Is it Arizona on the horizon? Is it good, Kevin, in any way that you guys just played Caleb Williams a week in front of Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I think it could be good, and I think there's also a lot of tape now that I'm sure Kyler's saying, hey, I'm going to be able to get out and make some plays off schedule if I can just avoid that Van Ginkel guy, if I can just get away from Gennard and Cashman and obviously the rest of our guys. But at the same time, I think we know we've got to find a way to keep the quarterback in the pocket a little bit more, and I thought we were close on some plays the other day. It was a big part of the game plan that Caleb was able to overcome and make some huge plays in the game. So we've got to make sure Kyler's having a phenomenal year. When you watch him on tape, he's decisive, he's playing in rhythm, and when he needs to, you're seeing that, elite quickness and change of direction that lets him cause problems for so many teams. So it's going to be a huge part of the game for sure.
Back to TJ Hawkinson for a second. And this is in knowing that you believed with the way things were crafted during the week, TJ could have a massive impact on the game. That's accurate, correct? Yep. All right, so he's 1 catch, 5 yards in the first half, 6 for 109 in the second half, and they couldn't find him. And when they couldn't find him, Sam was throwing him open with tight single coverage. What changed?
No, I just think it's kind of how the game went. I think over that time, it's the same way, PA. What did Jordan have at halftime?
That's a good point.
He had a good chunk. He had a touchdown, or he had the long ball over the top where, they did interfere with him on that one that we found out afterwards should have been if the ball hit the ground. So if and then and when, I guess.
The 2 in the middle of the field?
Yeah.
I thought it was incomplete because I saw an orange cleat. I thought the ball was rolling out. I'm like, Bursich is like, he caught it. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, it was a big time play, and we've been, very similar look to, what we tried to do against Tennessee. Speedy, unfortunately, stepping in for Jordan on that play, unable to finish that play. But Jordan's ability to finish those balls down the field, it's always been something that he's been really good at, going back to even his days at SC and Pitt. His finish of balls down the field, ball tracking, and the ability to hold his speed and go up and get it. So, but my point is there was some production there.
Yeah.
We moved it. The game is 4 quarters, and sometimes you need a little bit more time if you give up 11 points late like that to go win it. But the plays and the system and the players, more importantly than playing above the system sometimes. We've got really 3 really impactful guys, and then Aaron Jones is right there with them. I've got a ton of confidence that we just need ops. We just need plays. We need to stack plays, avoid negatives, and our playmakers are going to win the day before it's over. That's my belief every Sunday, and it will not change regardless of how any outcome ends up being, because I just have that much confidence in our guys.
How well do you remember Le'Veon Bell?
I do.
Cam Akers slow rolls things like Le'Veon Bell. You know what I'm seeing here?
Patience as a runner.
Yes.
Some schemes more so than others. There's some times where I feel like Curtis Modkins is over there on the sideline screaming to him to hit the gas on some of those wide zones. But some of those runs where he finds the space in there has definite Le'Veon feel.
The Cards, just a couple of quickies to close here. Sunday at noon for the Boom, KFAN. You faced Budda Baker a bunch of times. How important is he to their defense?
He's everything. And now I give Jonathan Gannon, he's a really good defensive coach. He's got a good coordinator, and I give them a lot of credit. They are playing some unique structures you don't really see around the NFL. And what I mean by that is, PA, there's going to be some times where you see 5 DBs just standing across the back like a college 3-3-5 defense.
Yeah.
And Budda's right in the middle. And he could be in the box in a heartbeat. He could be playing a 2-deep look. He can be playing quarters or single high, or they could be playing man. So you really don't have a lot of ways to undress it pre-snap. So you're really going to have some high-level processing, some great detail by our wide receivers as we try to, express concepts against the different looks that they have. And Sam's going to have to, find ways to put the ball in play in rhythm and take the quicker check-down type throws when they present themselves, because that's how they want you to play. But it's how you need to play to be able to consistently avoid them causing negative plays. Because when they've stopped the run and forced negative plays, it's been a darn good defense. If you play into the way that they want to play and you try to force some throws here and there, they'll make you pay for it. So we got to have a nice combination of kind of patience, but then when we get our spots and we get our ops, we got to make those happen. And that's one thing we did really well the other day.
Their first-round receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., 6 touchdowns, but 4 very early in the season. How is he fitting in?
Oh, he's everything that everybody in this league thought he would be. He's big, he's fast, he's physical, he's got great hands, he can make contested catches. They're really letting him do a lot of different things to try to get him down the field vertically, and then sometimes they'll take the top off with somebody else, and he's, running those crossing routes that seem to show up in a lot of offenses these days. But he's a big-time player. We got to know where he is. We got to know exactly who's responsible for him, where's the help coming from, and then we got to get the rush to get home while all, being aggressive to go get Kyler, but you can't let him out either. Because if you let him out, those could be some catastrophic plays.
Let's hear what the talkback sounds like.
Hey, Coach, this is Noel in Indiana. Love the job you're doing with the team and appreciate that you are there. My question is, you're the type of coach that likes to obviously build great relationships with the players. How hard does that make it to also do the business side of deciding who to play and who to let go? I just can imagine that's kind of challenging. I was wondering how you processed that. Thanks, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, I really appreciate that question, and it's a huge part of the job. And although it is the most difficult aspect of it, the part of the job that I dislike the most by far is when I have to tell a player in my office that you're no longer, either temporarily or more long-term, you're no longer going to be a part of this team, because these guys have built something that they love being a part of, and the players have done it. But I do believe the relationships you've built on the front end, the time and the energy to really pour into these guys so they know you care about them, they know you love them, you're doing everything you can on a minute-to-minute basis to try to help them be the best players that they can become. It allows you in those moments, to be vulnerable as a head coach. And, hey, I hate this. I wish we didn't have to do this. And I'm telling the truth when I say that. But I always want to make sure that there's light out in front of them when those moments happen. So that it always comes with, hey, here's what I would focus on. Here's what you can do moving forward to ensure that you not only have a place in this league, but you've got the opportunity to play and achieve all those hopes and dreams you've always had, and you're capable of doing it It's what Bill Belichick did when they released me from New England. He spent time with me and told me, this is what you need to do moving forward to have an impact and to get to where I think you should be in this league. And I think it's important to handle yourself in the most consistent, authentic way at all times. And that's not just when things are going well. Those are the hard parts of the job, too. It's what we signed up for, and there's nothing about it that I like, but it's part of it.
Great question, Noel. Lastly, you said in the locker room at Chicago, this is the favorite group you have been around.
Yeah,
Why?
Look, I know we're 9-2, and the expectation should be from our fans, hey, let's go win a Super Bowl. Let's go, track down those Lions and go try to chase them down and win the division and win every game we play. But I also remember how this team was talked about. I also remember, because I've used it. I've talked to our team about it early on, and I happen to disagree with a lot of the sentiment of the early opinions of our football team. And to me, the fact that they've just, ignored all that noise and just gone to work, they've come together in a way that is, pretty darn unique, and they have done it. It's been the players that have done it. And I'm just proud of the way that they compete. I'm proud of the way they don't flinch when things are inevitably not going to be perfect in an NFL game. And I know people and the expectations are that it should be, but that's just not the case. And I'm proud of the way they do that. And I like telling I made a pact with my team many games and months ago that I was always going to be honest with them. And that's, there's times people don't see where I'm honest with the team in a different way.
Yeah.
It's called coaching, and it's called what I think is being authentically me. And I'm proud of our team. I really am. And that doesn't mean anything or have anything to do with Sunday. We got to go reinvent ourselves and find a way to win a football game on Sunday. But that moment in the locker room, overcoming what it felt like there late when they were able to come back and tie the game, I was proud of our team, and I felt like telling them.
Yeah. Bill and Suzanne coming in for Thanksgiving?
You know what? I don't think they are. And it's sad that I don't even know if they are.
Really?
But we'll have somebody in town, that's for sure.
Good seeing you.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there.
Thank you. Likewise to you and your family. Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, 9 to noon, continues after this.
Tune in to Wild Wednesday each week for your chance to win tickets to see your Minnesota Wild in an upcoming game. Wild Wednesdays are presented by Jim Beam, a crowd pleaser since 1795.
I don't know. It's teams winning. Team has a winning record with Kevin O'Connell. I've just, you can just go ahead and give that man a lifetime contract. And that's about the only way to look at it from my standpoint. Now, granted, it's unfair for me to say that because I'm put in different situations with this team and that head coach than the listening public. And I don't like to go down that road too often, because God has blessed me with the ability and the privilege to be able to do this. And not everybody, gets that opportunity. So when I say that, I just know over the course of a couple of decades what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of good moments with coaches. There have been some bad moments with coaches. None of them have won a Super Bowl. A couple have gotten to the conference championship game. I just, whether people believe me or not, I just know what goes into doing something well.
Yeah.
And having it go from A to Z with misses along the way. But that's part of it. It's how misses are handled by true leaders. And like who gets chewed out and why. Like he said, I asked him, you said after the game, this is my favorite group to be around.
Right.
And, he said, well, you guys don't see me on the other side of it, when we have the other side of the conversation. And I haven't, at least in full throttle. But I understand what he's saying. And I'm just so unbelievably impressed with Kevin O'Connell and what I've seen now through 2.5 years. And that includes after getting killed by Philadelphia, getting killed by Dallas, having long winning streaks, getting bounced in the postseason early, stuff like that. And I think I shared this before here. Maybe I didn't. But, it's not only him, it's those around him. And I'm not going to say this is an edict or a mandate or, hey, after we lose, you're not to do this. But I've never heard one coach pull me to the side, not one time, and I'm here a lot. And be like, hey, come here. How are you effing supposed to win with that guy playing there? Hey, shh. Okay, that was bad. How are you effing supposed to do anything with that guy there? How are you effing supposed to do whatever with this draft? That never happens here. Never, ever, ever. So when I say the word culture in sports and in the professional world has become trite and overused and not used the right way, that's not the case here. And I think, hopefully the audience was in tune enough to listen to what I'm talking about here, hear it through Kevin, the way he answers questions and to understand what I'm saying when they say culture and it's important and you hear it all over the place. Hopefully you can hear it from him about them and not just because they're winning. It's how he handled himself last year during a disadvantageous situation where you're wheeling through 4 quarterbacks and none of them are the one you want. And or 3 quarterbacks and the one you want's hurt. And how he handled himself then, with X's and O's, which we used to do in the TV studio. But the lack of backbiting and the lack of people talking about others, it's minimal here. That's so refreshing. That's so refreshing, not only compared to life that a lot of people face, just generally speaking, the listening audience, places you work. It's prevalent at a lot of places you work because people get fat and happy and they get comfortable and they think everything's okay. And it's not, because you're tearing somebody down.
Yep.
And it makes the weak, the small-minded feel better about themselves when they do that. And I've just seen it so many times in so many different settings. But it's high level here. It's been high level here, high level ripping in the past when things go wrong.
Yeah.
And hey, come on, let me tell you this. And they're using me thinking that it's going to get out on the radio and in essence make their situation sound better, even though that's not the case, because I'm biting my tongue and I'm not going to fire back. And I think you're the loser. Why do you got to be the small-minded one to always be ripping? So I don't know if that's like a tenet here or if they're like, hey, we don't do this. But it never happens here, even after losses. And I just really, really felt a lot of different things from Kevin today. Hopefully the audience does. I just really, really enjoy that man's company. He's really good at what he does. And that's not shortchanging either the reality of recognizing what I do. And you know what? I've worked that prostitution game with some of these people over the years. Hey, I got something to give you. You got something to give me.
Yeah.
Shh, let's just keep it quiet. And, when I say, and I don't even know if I've ever said it on this radio show, but I'll say it now. When I tried to quit this job at the end of 2021, I was so fed up with the arrogance, the narcissism, the entitlement, and some things that were taking place in my covenant here.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do the job anymore. And there are those listening now who know exactly what I'm talking about. And to have that flip organically to what it's become now, it touches me. It just moves me, man. And Kevin has a lot to do with that.
Well, I think the fan base in his tenure here, from fans' perspective, ultimately will be registered by wins and losses. And you want to win a ton of games as a fan.
Amen. Perfectly put.
But you want to win a ton of games with good people, too. And, as much as I appreciated my time getting to know and interacting with.
Yeah.
And in some ways, the access that sometimes we get that maybe others don't get, that
yeah.
I enjoyed my time working with Mike Zimmer for a period of time. But I can tell you this, I will say, and I'm not as close to it as you are, this is as stable as I've seen things on the football side, not only since I've been at the Fan, but maybe years before. And it is that cultural piece.
Yeah.
It is the steady hand, both not only in the great moments, not only in the moments where you're lifting people up and you're on win streaks. It is when things go the wrong way and you have to make difficult personnel decisions, how the offseason unfolds, collaborating and working. I know collaboration's kind of become a buzzword here over the last few years. Maybe it should have been earlier and before.
Yeah.
This is the most stable that I've seen things here.
Agreed.
From a mental standpoint.
Oh,
where,
yeah.
when, I mean,
well said.
You can ride the highs, and we do it, and we love joking about it. And the montages on Mondays, it's so fun. And when things are bad, it's Gatto Barbieri, Europa, and we're just, ain't no sunshine, and the whole thing. As fans and Rubes, I love riding those emotional highs and lows.
With you.
As an organization, you cannot. And I will say this, I thought towards the end of the previous tenure, I saw a lot of people that have to make big decisions riding those emotional highs and lows, just like I was as a fan. And that's just not healthy. And I see a group right now that's spearheaded by KO that is incredibly mentally healthy, on the same page. And it's really been a beautiful thing to be, even from my standpoint, as close to it as I am.
The PJ Flex Show follows us. We'll pause and have a truncated final segment after this. Some quick takes courtesy of SouCup and SouCup.com from the analyst, Pete Bursich, analyst for the Vikings Radio Network. How about O'Connell thinking, and you were right there, it's like things get heated on the sideline between coaches and stuff like that. I'm sure that's the situation in the booth with you and Pete. I mean, I felt like saying, well, if one of the analysts doesn't think we're running enough, it can get a little heated up there, you know?
It can. It can get heated up there, but that's the thing is coaching and having done it. It's been 2 years on the sideline, 2 years in the booth.
You were on the sideline for 2 of those years.
2 of those years. It's not fun up in the booth. It just really is. We talk about Ryan Cordell all the time, but the amount of pressure that you're under to get it right and to know exactly when, and you don't have a lot of time to make that decision, and you have to be right. It's not. You take a breath when the game's over. You just take a breath. You're just like, oh my goodness, And he's saying, and he was apologizing almost for some of the stuff he said in the booth. And I'm like, yeah, I work for Tice. I mean, we got fired. I don't know how many times this seson up in the booth.
Yeah.
You idiot, you morons up in the booth.
After this game, you're out. I'm firing you on the bus.
I got 10 guys that'll take your job tomorrow. The whole thing.
Right.
So it's just, you understand they're blowing off steam. You get the bit. You understand what's going on, but the pressure and getting that thing right so quickly, it's not. They make it look easy, right? And I even got asked on Chicago radio Sunday morning. I was on the Score, and one of the questions where they brought up Ryan Cordell.
What?
And his
the
title.
Leader of the dispute department?
Yes, they brought up his title, and they said, how does that process work because they have it down so well? And I'm like, this is nuts. I'm like, oh my God. When you win, they dig deep, I guess.
So they're saying Eberflus and the Bears bad with challenges.
Yes, they need that. They need somebody like a Cordell there.
I'll tell you what.
Okay.
This radio show single-handedly probably has added $100,000 to this young man's next deal, and we better be in for a cut, Roger. Hey, Buffalo Wild Wings Chanhassen tomorrow for a football feast. Buffalo Wild Wings Chanhassen 9 to noon. Otherwise, if you can't make it or you can't listen, God bless all of you and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And thanks for listening to KFAN when you do. PJ Fleck and the PJ Fleck Show up to the game against Bucky is next on KFAN.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.